Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Time for us to begin our regular session council meeting, Goldsboro City Council meeting of Monday, March 15th. If you would, please, Pastor Jones, present, come on up, sir. Lead us in prayer, please. Pam?
Father, we are most thankful for this evening. We're thankful for this moment, this opportunity. We're thankful for life, for health, and for strength.
And we thank you for giving us another opportunity today to be in the land of the living. Bless those who are in our midst, in the room, in our presence, those who are watching from afar. We're so thankful for our leaders, for the heart to serve the people, for the heart to stand for justice and the well-being for everyone. And we pray even today that you reignite and revive the passion to continue to lead our great city. We give you all the glory, honor, and praise. May your hand be upon the agenda that's before us today. Give us grace to serve in a better way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Please join us in Pledge of Allegiance tonight. A little bit different. We're going to have a virtual Pledge of Allegiance led by the North Carolina Coastal Plains Girl Scout troops celebrating their 109th year.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday, ladies. Before we do roll call, I want to announce to those that are gathered here and those that are viewing that the mayor will not be with us tonight. He's taken a leave of absence. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Broadway.
Here.
Councilmember Polak.
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Present.
Councilmember Aycock.
Here. All are present. And before we go to the printed agenda, I've been asked to move item 7, items requiring individual action, to put it under item 5, the first item to be listed under public hearings. If you agree, I need a motion to make that change.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand. So moved. Okay.
You said under as opposed to before?
Excuse me?
You said under as opposed to before?
Well,
You want her to go
well, we
right
can
now?
move. Let's make it before item 5 then, unless there's any objections. Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Thank you for that consideration. I appreciate that. What I have before you tonight is an ordinance to amend a capital project, police evidence room, and fire department renovations. The council adopted the establishment of the capital project fund on October 1, 2018 for the police evidence room and fire department renovation, which was funded with a $5.3 million loan. The project is now complete, and there are additional funds that need to be appropriated so that they may be spent on the completion of the final items. There is additional miscellaneous income of about $155,000, and there's also additional investment interest of $2,250 that has accrued on the project funds since the last time that we amended it, June 15th of 2020. The total revenue appropriation for this is $157,250, and the expenditure appropriation will increase by the same amount. It is recommended that the attached capital project ordinance be amended for the amount of $157,250.
A motion to accept the recommendation by the finance director.
I make the motion to accept the recommendation.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Discussion.
All opposed?
Thank you.
That's fine. If nobody had discussion, then it's fine.
I'm anxious to get you out of here, Catherine. No discussion allowed.
Keep us straight, Ron.
Okay, now we're going to move into the public hearings, and our planning director, Ms. Collins, will sort of take charge here. And let me say to the people that are in the audience here that because of our COVID seating arrangements, we've got people that are going to be speaking in other parts of the building, so be patient with us because they'll have to be moving from place to place.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Oh. It's not working. Okay, sorry about that. Your first item is item A. It is a rezoning and also has an associated conditional use permit with it. Once I present the item together, I will need to have a rezoning public hearing opened, and we will hear those that have a public wide kind of comment relating to the rezoning of the subject property. And then with that, public hearing will need to be closed, and then we will open a public hearing for the conditional use permit, which is associated with the rezoning. But I will make sure to guide you as we proceed forward. So I'll begin with item A, the rezoning request. That is Z121, MC Morgan and Associates, and we refer to it as Shannon View. The property is located on the west side of New Hope Road between Kyler Best Road and North Harding Drive. The applicant's requesting a change of zone for a portion of the subject property from R12 to residential R9 CZ, which is conditional zoning, limiting the use to an 84-unit senior apartment complex. In conjunction with the request, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit, which we're referring to as CU 421, for the construction of the senior apartment complex in the residential R9 zoning district. The area is indicated on the map in the shaded crosshatch area and is roughly 10.2 acres. To the north, you have neighborhood business and shopping center, or neighborhood business and shopping center. To the south, residential R6 conditional zoning. To the east, residential R16 and R12 single family. And to the west, office and institutional and residential R12. Property is currently partially wooded and cleared farmland. On March 3rd of 2003, Goldsboro City Council approved the change of zone from residential R16 to residential R6 conditional zoning for the construction of 216 apartments upon property directly to the south of the proposed development and formerly known as the Reserve at Bradbury Place. If the proposed change of zone is approved, the applicant will be required to obtain a conditional use permit approved by City Council for the proposed senior apartment complex. Is that better?
Yeah.
It seems to go in and out. The city's land use plan recommends mixed-use development. Proposed zoning for the property is compatible with the adjacent properties in the area. Since city water and sewer are available to serve the area, higher residential densities are encouraged. The submitted site plan that is also associated with the conditional use permit request indicates one 3-story senior apartment building containing a total of 84 units. The site will be required to meet the multifamily development design standards to include open space requirement of 20% of the entire development. Access to the site will be directly from West New Hope Road. West New Hope Road is a state-maintained road. Officials with NCDOT have been contacted and are recommending that the access drive for the senior apartments align with Shelley Drive to avoid conflicting left turns off of West New Hope Road. Parking for the site requires 2 spaces per unit, plus 0.5 per bedroom over 2. 51 units will be 2-bedroom units, and 33 units will be 1-bedroom units. A total of 168 parking spaces are required. 84 parking spaces are shown on the submitted site plan. The applicant is requesting a modification of the city's parking requirement due to the fact that the North Carolina Finance Agency requires only 1 parking space per senior apartment unit. External city sidewalks are required for new development. However, the city's pedestrian facilities plan does not recommend sidewalks for the area. Frontage along West New Hope Road is approximately 360 feet, and approximately 188 feet is along Kyler Best Road. The developer will be required to install the sidewalks or pay the fee in lieu amount of approximately $9,864 to the city of Goldsboro. The developer will also be required to submit a lighting plan in compliance with the city's commercial lighting ordinance due to the property being adjacent to residentially zoned property. Interconnectivity has not been shown for the site. The applicant will be required to provide interconnectivity to the adjacent multifamily apartment complex directly south of the proposed development. City water and sewer are available to serve the subject property, and the property is not located within a special flood hazard area. City engineering will require approval of stormwater calculations and drainage plans prior to issuance of any building permits. Street trees have been provided along West New Hope Road, and a Type B 15-foot landscape buffer is required along all property lines with the exception of a Type C 20-foot wide buffer adjacent to single-family development along the western property line for approximately 267 feet. Vehicular surface area landscaping requirements will also be required to be met. Staff is working with the applicant to ensure landscape requirements are met per the requirements of our city's UDO. Commercial dumpsters will be utilized for garbage collection. Building elevations have been submitted and indicate the proposed buildings will be constructed of brick veneer and fiber cement shake siding. Roofing materials are being proposed as architectural shingles. Staff will ensure all multifamily development design standards are met per the requirements of the city's Unified Development Ordinance. A majority of the subject property is located outside the city limits. Since city utilities are located within 1,000 feet of the site, the developer will be required to connect to city water and sewer and annex into the city limits. At this time, there is no action necessary. The Planning Commission will have a recommendation for council at your meeting on April the 5th. Please keep in mind we do need to open the public hearing now for the rezoning request only, which is a public-wide comment period. Are there any questions for staff?
I do.
Any
Yes, sir.
questions?
Once, if this were to be rezoned, and it says for senior apartments, what keeps the developer from, once he gets them built, they don't become senior apartments? There's nothing we can do once it's rezoned, is that correct?
I think the stipulations would be based on his housing or financing, which he gets based on seniors. The developer is present, and you may ask that question to him.
Does it stipulate, Jennifer, what is senior, age-wise?
I believe it's in the 55 range, 55 years or older, but the applicant can address those questions. Staff did not get involved with how the financing works or the age requirement.
But for our benefit, for
From
our
our
purposes.
standpoint, multifamily is for all ages. It would be amongst the property management to manage it from a standpoint of who rents and who doesn't.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. At this time, I will ask if there's anyone in this room that would like to speak regarding the rezoning request. We'll ask you to come speak now. Just state your name once you come up. Is there anyone here for the rezoning request on this item?
There's a question. What if we're wanting to speak against both of the rezoning that's coming up, the one on Kyler Best Road and on New Hope? Are we
Then I
allowed-
suggest you speak at both, but you can't, it's, each item will have a public hearing for each one. So if you're wanting to speak on any of them, you will need to speak at that time for each request. So right now, it's just the rezoning request for the property at the corner of, or on New Hope Road, with direct access off New Hope Road for the senior apartments.
So I think they get it.
Need to be
Somebody needs to
sworn
come
in.
up now.
Madam Clerk.
How y'all doing?
How you doing?
I'm Dale Benton. I live at 1598 Calabash Road. I've been there 40-some years. And I'm opposed to any zone change for any multifamily housing on or near Calabash Road. We've got way too much traffic. And I won't bore you with all the other details, but I'd just like the council to know that we are opposed to it.
What is your name again, sir?
Dale Benton.
Dale Benton.
I have property at 1588, I have property at 1598, I have property at 1738, all around these two zone changes. And
Now,
it's
now
not a
your-
good idea.
Your wife presented a petition, correct?
Yes. Would you like me to get it for you?
Wait, if you could tell us how many names were on
Can
it.
be used for both.
There's 42 signatures on this petition, which is basically all the homeowners on Calabash Road that are homeowners.
Would you give that to the clerk?
It can't be submitted.
As far as the rules are concerned, the petition, the fact there is a petition, he can testify that there's a petition because this is an evidentiary hearing, then anything that's presented has to also follow those rules. A petition, people signing it or making comments would be technically hearsay. So that's why you have a hearing, so people can come up and testify and say their piece.
To do a petition.
I understand. I connected with somebody today and told them the rules on that. Nobody talked to me about that beforehand until today when I received an email, and I sent an email back responding to a particular person who said a petition was going to be presented. So showing them you have one, telling them how many names you have on it, that's not a problem. It's just the actual handing it up as a piece of evidence is something they can't consider because this is calling for actual evidence, and that's going to be hearsay evidence in that.
And Mr. Benton, that's our city attorney speaking to you there.
Okay. Well, if I can't submit it, I would just be glad to tell you that there's 42 signatures here.
That's all we need.
Of people that are opposed to any multifamily housing. I mean, we've already got more multifamily housing on Calabash Road than we need.
And the properties that you own around there, are they housing?
Two of them are residents. Actually, three of them are residents and one of them is a business.
Okay.
And putting a 80-some family apartment complex directly across the street from the entrance to my business would be devastating.
And those
You can't get in and out of my driveway as it is right now. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, from New Hope Road, where the stoplight's at the dead end, traffic will be sitting still in front of my house from that stoplight all the way back right now. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Just one more question on the residents. The three residents, are they single-family residents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right,
They
thank
are.
you.
And I appreciate y'all hearing me, and I hope it didn't fall on deaf ears.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You state your name for the clerk, please.
Yes, my name is Max Sullivan. Max Sullivan, and my wife and I are here. We live at 1550 Tyler Vest Road, right next to the Bentons. And so we've got a home there, and I just echo what he's got to say. Dale kind of laughs at me because I stand at the end of my driveway waiting to go get the mail, and there's no telling how long I've got to wait there just across the street to be able to get my mail. That's the level of traffic that's up and down there. So I agree with him. I'm going to clearly stand against any more density in any change in the zoning of the properties on Kyler Best Road or right there near the intersection of New Hope and Kyler Best, which this particular property is. If it's zoned for single families as the one right across the street from Dale and I is, you want to put 20 homes in there, that's the way it's zoned, I'm fine. But 80 apartments there is an absolute nightmare, and then another 84 around the corner. It's just putting us in a position that is quite frankly dangerous. I walk out my driveway And I have to make my grandchildren stand 20 feet away from me while I get up close to the road and wait for an opportunity to run across and then run back. That's how bad it is. So I just encourage you not to make any changes in the property in that particular area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me, for the benefit, you can go take your seat, sir. You can take- let me, for the benefit of the audience here tonight, please understand that the council is not taking any action on these tonight. It's strictly a hearing. The planning commission will meet to take up this issue again on the 29th, correct? And then it will be brought back to us on April 5th meeting for our decision. Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Is there anyone else in this room that would like to speak?
I wish you could put Eileen Henderson, 301 Tanya Drive in Old Farm. I'd like to speak on behalf of a home in Glenda's Point that's being built. If you could put the overview back up of where the land was, yes. Yes, it's in the very corner. The building comes to an L up at the top. It's a brand new home. They just put the construction in on the foundation, doing the surveying. I don't believe that owner of that home knows yet because I haven't seen him there or seen the family there. But they will be surprised to know that their home will look out onto an apartment building wall. They have not been informed of that, and I just think that's something that this should be considered for that family. I don't know who they are, but I just know that that's a new complex. There has been 6 new homes in that area in the past 3 years. So that Glenda's Point is filling up. They still have vacant lots. They will be building more in there to complete that entire complex. And I just wanted to make you aware of that about Glenda's Point.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to speak? Sir, will you state your name for the clerk, please?
Yes, I'm Michael Woodard. Me and my wife and my aunt own Woodard Realty. We have about 175 units on Harding Drive, which butts up around the Kyler Best area. As Mr. Lawrence stated, we had a petition signed by several of our tenants in that area. 69 of them have signed in opposition to allowing or to having it rezoned for more housing in that area. Above that, about 22 of them took the time to actually write messages in the petition. Every single one of them were vehemently opposed, and they were all pretty much opposed for the same reasons we are. Harding Drive is already a convenient cut through for that area. There's a lot of speeding and traffic that is already coming through Harding Drive. Constantly we have, and thankfully, we have police officers that sit right across from one of our mini complexes on Harding Drive, and all day long they just stop people that are speeding through that area. For some reason, that 35-mile-an-hour zone apparently feels like a 55 zone to so many people coming through that area. And that was with the traffic that's already there. My concern is with that, and so I have complexes on both sides of Harding going all the way up and down. And my concern with that is the increase in traffic, the increase in just people going back and forth through that area, more traffic, more speeders. Of course, that's one of the only areas in Goldsboro that has the running path and biking path for people to leave the Y. That's something that I do quite often. My wife does several more times a week than I do, but she'll leave the Y, run down Harding Drive, back towards that area. It's already kind of dangerous. And then if we add that many more people for that area, I'm just concerned that the traffic is going to be a real detriment. Most of my tenants, especially in my complex that is Brookwood Downs, are mostly older, retired. They like to get out during the day, walk around. They'll walk through the neighborhood, but they also like to walk up and down Harding Drive. And I'm concerned that they won't be as comfortable doing that with an increase in traffic. I'm concerned that they will want to seek housing elsewhere, so somewhere that's a little bit quieter. We've spent a lot of money over the last 10 or 15 years making Harding Drive a very aesthetically pleasing place. We have many quiet, gated communities, and we'd really like to keep it that way. We've invested a lot of money and time in that area. Even though I'm one of the owners, I spend most of my day doing maintenance work there on Harding Drive. So I'd like to keep that area a quiet, peaceful, as little traffic as possible through there. And I think that any of these multifamily homes that would be built in that area would be detrimental not only to my property values potentially, but also to the safety and the well-being and the enjoyment of my tenants.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Have any others, Jennifer? State your name, sir.
Mitch Ham,
Address.
112 of Michelle Dawn Drive, at Glenda's Point. First, I'd like to just, as I've done before, encourage the council on the things that you've done with the Maxwell Center and all the different areas, all the things you've worked with the county on in the area of with the retirement home and the not retirement home, but the different things we've got going in that area, including the Social Security office and all those things that's going on in that area. And it's just really exciting to live in that area and see the things that are happening in that area. As far as, and so I would encourage us to stay in that vein, to stay in that vein of those different types of businesses and things coming into that area to really build it up for Goldsboro. I think it'd be powerful. Any concerns I might have, I just purchased a home there, just closed on it just 6 weeks ago. If I'd have known some of this was going on, I probably would have reconsidered that. I ride my bike sometimes in the area, and a lot of people are driving through Linda's Point and Old Farm to try to get out of the traffic that's going on there, and that's a little concerning with children and different things, and us trying to do things like with the bike trails that we've spent so much time on and effort on to for our communities and whatever. But anyway, just wanted to start out by encouraging you guys to let's stay in that vein of building that area up to really solidify the things that are going on in the neighborhoods there and the commercial things that can go on there. It's just a great opportunity for Goldsboro and that particular area. I see things. I'm a person that just loves the vision, and I see great things happening in that area, and I just encourage us to stay in that vein. Thank you for letting me speak.
Just for a matter of full disclosure, Mr. Ham and I are not related one bit, so just want to make that clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm sure you're glad, sir. You're glad, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad. That's
I do have a question, sir.
I would
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
One of the previous speakers spoke of accessibility and traffic. Now I heard you say something about growing it, commercializing. So that would attribute to traffic, I would assume. So is the issue traffic from your standpoint, or just not having a multifamily dwelling?
That's a good question, because I would think, based on what little I know, I'm a big fan of demographics. I do demographics for churches and stuff. Usually when you get into a situation like that, as you well know, you gentlemen are much more schooled at that than I am. Usually when you get into commercial property, the road, a lot of the expansions of the road and the turnoffs are paid for by the people developing the neighborhoods, which would probably be the case also with any other properties that were being built there as well, because traffic can't get on and off the road. I look at places like Panera and all the different places that I follow, and how they've had to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in turnoffs and Obviously, if that begins to happen, that road's gotta be 4 lanes. That's what's gotta happen. And for that to happen, and that will not probably happen unless there is commercial property there. But that's just my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Mark Morgan with MC Morgan & Associates. I'm the applicant for Shannon View Apartments. Before I start, I just want to state this real quick. I've been working with the staff for about 3.5 years. This past year has been pretty tough, working through another development. And I want to say to you guys is that your staff is top drawer. We've been able to work through the COVID. They've been responsive. We've been able to do the work that needs to be done. Now, has it slowed it down? Absolutely. But we have moved forward, and everybody has been there and be there. So I just wanted to stop and just say thank you for that. Shannon View Apartments is an elderly apartment developer. Age 55 and older, it's restricted. It's deed restricted. There is no changing once we develop this property. Shannon View that you have in front of you, as you see, has only one entrance, and that is out to West New Hope Road. The development is for 55 and older. Right now we have anywhere plus or minus 50 one-bedrooms and 33 two-bedrooms. There's 2 elevators, covered drive-through, laundry room. Every room has a laundry facility, but we have one of those. We have multiple community spaces and computer rooms, on-site storage for each individual. There's on-site property management there and maintenance there full-time. As you look at the site plan, the back of the property, we've located it as central as we could on that 10-acre tract. So from where you're looking at it now to the east, to the left side, that's over 140 feet between my building and the closest property line. From the road, from the edge of the building all the way out to New Hope is, I think, 650 feet. So we're strategically located in the center, parking in and around, and then we're surrounded. So the building itself is 3-story. I have adjacent 3-story buildings with an apartment complex, the reserves to the east in that particular photo. I want to go through a couple of things that I've heard and we'll put them in statements of facts as we move through. We're talking about traffic. Again, this is an elderly development. I have traffics that I will actually put in the record for this particular site. I've also talked to NCDOT, the District 3, about what we're proposing and what we have. They told us exactly what we need to do. They're fine with the traffic that we have and that we're going to be producing as it relates to an elderly development. Elderly developments, again, across the state, we normally do anywhere from 1 to 0.75 parking spaces, because, just to be honest with you, when we say 55 and older, historically, and that will certainly feel true here, my average age person in our development is 65 plus. We don't have a lot of drivers, and when we do, we have one driver. To get back to the need, and I will place this market study analyst that's hot off the presses. I just pulled it today, and I'm not going to. It's a 90-page document, so I will just excerpt a couple of pieces. The market analyst looks at a PMA, which a PMA is primary market area for anywhere from 10 miles from literally that location. That's where they're pulling almost exclusively all their data from. But I'm gonna hit a couple of main points. By 2023, the number of seniors age 55 and older within a defined market area is projected to be a total of 22,665. Persons at an increase of nearly 25% since 2010. That's 10 miles from there. The area exhibits positive senior demographics trends with ongoing aging in place along the migration reflecting most of the regional's growth. No such rentals are present within Goldsboro and reflects an unmet need within the community. The capture rates, which are basically what we boil down to is what is the need. What we're looking at is 84 units of elderly. And that as this was taken within the past 2 weeks, the total demand, and that's just a snapshot of today, 1,515. That's just today. These are some of the things that, I'll be honest with you, as a developer, it excites me that we have that kind of need in the community. And I'm excited to be here, and I want to meet the need that is already laid out for us. I mean, I'm here because you have this in your comp plan. You have this in your comp plan. These are things that you put out, said this is what we need and this is what we want to have to do. So for me, I'm just a cog in the wheel. I'm one developer who's going to not necessarily meet a need, but I'm going to try to put some units for a need in this particular market. And again, I've been working for the last 3 years to do just that. Is there any questions that you have for me as it relates to presentation?
You know I do.
Yes, sir.
It's my district.
Yes, sir.
You're talking about one entrance and one exit.
Yes, sir.
To it, and that's going to be right across from Shelley Drive, correct?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that's going to cause a lot of congestion right there at that intersection with no stoplight?
Well,
and right now there are no turning lanes there.
right. What NCDOT is going to make me do is a turning lane. We've already said that.
But they're not going to make Mimosa Park do it because that's already developed.
I don't know about that particular one, but I know that what NCDOT is going to allow me or make me do.
I mean, I'm asking questions that people in my district have
Yes,
asked
sir.
me.
Absolutely.
And I don't know the answers, but.
You know, the traffic counts for it's 84 units. We're talking about peak hours, early and later. The total is 312 a day. That's low. That's really low. Peak hours are 9 entering and 11 exiting in between 6:30 and 9:30, 12 at the PM peak hours, 5 o'clock to 7:30, entering 12 and exiting 10. And that's a report from, you know, transportation engineer that did those particular numbers. Again, especially the elderly and apartments specifically are not big, huge trip generators. They're just not. But what other questions?
That's it.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
the last fire district I worked in before I retired was District 5, which is Councilman Acott's district. And I hear you say peak hours, but you could go up New Hope, Collier Best any given time of day and sit in traffic 10 minutes on average. And that's what with the current situation they have now. So I'm just looking at this from an emergency responder standpoint and access. Like you said, there's no traffic light coming off of Shelley. It just seems like it's gonna be a lot of congestion. I hear what you're saying about the 85 units and the probability of only one driver per parking space, but unless there's a large overhaul or expansion in the road, I see it as being congested, a congested area as well.
Well, the thing I see, and I'm not is in talking about the emergency vehicles. Kyler Best especially has no shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
If the emergency vehicle's going through there, the person has very little room to pull off the road. And I mean, that's factual. And part of New Hope Road, after you pass Kyler Best Road, has very little shoulder. So, I see that, but, I'm open.
Well, you guys live here. I'm just dictating what we see and what we're out there. I do know that this is a low generator. I do know that as council, looking at the need versus what the prospects are, having needs of that size, I don't see those quite often, to be honest with you, on the elderly. So you have an aging population, and there is no place to go. And again, cog in the wheel. I'm one piece. When you're talking about single-family housing, multifamily versus elderly, you got to have it all. You got to have a place for them to go. They got to keep moving. They want to transition. That's the health of the housing market.
I'm just expressing concerns of
yes, sir.
people who've contacted me.
Sir, in addition to the emergency vehicles, you say that most of the people that are going to be lived there are not drivers. So that means that that's another additional vehicle, like a bus or something, that they're going to need to transport, because everybody's going to, everybody's not going to want to stay home that don't have a car. So then that is an additional vehicle that will run different times of the day. So.
Great question. And I've already been talking with the transportation here for Goldsboro. We've been talking multiple times about the different developments that we're looking at the end of this street. And it's one of those things where if you build it, they will come. If you get it, they will come. What I've done in this particular development is I have because I can't make them come onto my property. I can't make them, even though I have a really nice circle and a drop off and everything, and they normally do. But what we normally do is we offer, I've got out front, I've got a dedicated covered for busing, the bus route. The bus route is not there yet. I've already had the conversation with them, and if you build it, we will come, and they will be there. So, as far as other comings and goings, relates to car traffic, I can only speak to historic. Historically, it's just a low generator. A lot of my tenants, the reason why we're going so heavily on the 2 bedrooms, I used to be just the opposite. I would do a lot more at a development like this. I would have 80 units. I would have 61 bedrooms and only 22 bedrooms. Well, I've flipped that over the past 4 or 5 years because what we're seeing is we're having a lot of individuals that are just wanting to live together. It's sisters that come and live. They just don't want to maintain their home. It's a burden. And so they're moving in together in places like this, and which works out really great for a development like that particular one. So we can, and again, sisters, widowers, they come and they sign up and they have 2 bedrooms and they live. The design itself, we're not a CCRC retirement community. This is independent living. But the entire design of the layout is a universal design. So when you drive onto the site and you get out of your car, there's no curb cut, no step until you get up to your unit. So you can come in and you can live a lot longer and not have to be worried about steps like this. We've done as much as we possibly can to let people live in the communities in which they want to live in, or as long as they possibly can. But thank you.
Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council, I will need you to close the public hearing for the rezoning request and then open a public comment or public hearing for the conditional use permit, which is associated with the rezoning that we just discussed.
Yes.
And just to, for the record, those that wish to speak regarding the conditional use permit are only parties who have legal rights that would be directly affected by the proposed use are entitled to participate in the quasi-judicial public hearing. So that means those at adjacent property owners, or, I mean, anyone can speak, but regard to the testimony or anything that you hear, it should be related to those that are directly affected by the proposed use.
And can you determine that? I mean,
They would need to be sworn in. Anyone that wants to speak next regarding the conditional use permit will need to be sworn in, and they will state their name and address.
And you will act as a gatekeeper for that?
Well, or the city attorney may when they start talking.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak regarding the conditional use permit associated with the rezoning?
Mr. City Manager, do we still have to close that?
What's that?
Do we still have to close this before we go to the new section?
Yeah, she's checking the other room.
Just making sure who we have.
Make
Okay,
sure.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'm having to check multiple locations. Is there anyone in this room that wants to talk about the conditional use permit associated with this change? That's what we just talked about, have to have 2 public hearings, so you can start before you can start on the rezoning.
Jennifer, we'll close the hearing on that.
You can close the hearing on that. There's no others that wish to speak regarding that item.
Okay. So we'll open the hearing for the next item.
So item B is, your next item is item B. Which we will also hold in the same format that I just held. The applicant is requesting conditional zoning, which would be associated with conditional use permit. So we will function the exact same way we just did for item A. Item B is Z221 MC Morgan and Associates, and it's Tiffany Gardens Phase 2. The property is located on the west side of Thoroughfare Road between Central Heights Road and NC Railroad. The applicant's requesting a change of zone for a portion of the subject property from residential R16 to residential R6 conditional zoning, limiting the use to an 84-unit apartment complex. In conjunction with the request, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit, and it's referred to as CU 521, for the construction of the apartment complex in the residential R6 zoning district. The area is indicated on the map with the hatched area and roughly 7.7 acres. Surrounding zoning to the north, you have residential R16, RMNC, residential R12 conditional zoning, and residential R9. To the south, you have residential R16 and R12. To the east, R16 and R9, and to the west, R16 and R12 conditional zoning. On April 1st, 2019, Goldsboro City Council accepted the recommendation of the Goldsboro Planning Commission and adopted an ordinance changing the zone for the property directly north of the subject property from residential R16 and R12 to residential R12 conditional zoning, limiting the use of the property to an 84-unit apartment complex. Now the same developer is proposing a second phase of residential development consisting of another 84-unit apartment complex. If the zoning is approved, the applicant will be required to obtain a conditional use permit approved by City Council for the proposed apartment complex. The property is currently vacant. The comprehensive land use plan recommends medium density residential development for this area. In addition, the plan recommends that higher density should be encouraged since city water and sewer are available to serve the property. The submitted preliminary site plan, which is associated with the conditional use permit known as 521, indicates three-story apartment buildings containing a total of 84 units. The site will be required to meet the multifamily development design standards to include open space requirement of 20% of the entire development. In addition, a community building is also being proposed on site. Access to the site will be directly from Thoroughfare Road. And since Thoroughfare Road is a state-maintained road, NCDOT officials have been contacted and are requiring driveway permits as well as left and right turn lanes along Central Heights Road as a result of Phase 1 development. Parking for the site requires 2 spaces per unit plus 0.5 per bedroom over 2. 36 of the 84 total units will be 3-bedroom units, 35 units will be 2-bedroom units, and the remaining 13 units will be 1-bedroom units. A total of 176 parking spaces are required and 176 spaces have been shown. External city sidewalks are required for new development. However, the city's pedestrian facilities plan does not recommend sidewalks for the area. Frontage along Thoroughfare Road is approximately 460 feet. The developer will be required to install the sidewalks or pay a fee in lieu in the amount of $8,280 to the city of Goldsboro. The developer will be required to submit a lighting plan in compliance with the city's commercial lighting ordinance, and that is due to the property being adjacent to residentially zoned developed properties. Interconnectivity has been shown west of the site as adjacent property is currently being developed for multifamily use. City water and sewer are available to serve the subject property, and the property is not located within a special flood hazard area. City engineering will require approval of stormwater calculations and drainage plans prior to any issuance of permits. Street trees have been provided along Thoroughfare Road. A Type B 15-foot landscape buffer is required with the exception of a Type C 20-foot wide buffer adjacent to single-family development along the southern property line and a portion of the northern property line. Staff is working with the applicant to ensure landscape requirements are met. per the Unified Development Ordinance requirements. Commercial dumpsters will be utilized for garbage collection, and building elevations have been submitted and indicate the proposed buildings will be constructed of brick veneer and fiber cement shake siding. Roofing materials will be architectural shingles. Staff will ensure that all multifamily development design standards are met per the requirements of the city's Unified Development Ordinance. The subject property is located outside the city limits. Since city utilities are located within 1,000 feet of the site, the developer will be required to connect to city water and sewer, as well as annex into the city limits. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for council's meeting on April the 5th. And unless there's any questions for staff, we will need to open the public hearing for the rezoning request first.
Okay, this zoning hearing for zoning Z221, MC Morgan Associates. Anyone wishing to speak?
Anyone in this room for that item?
Good evening, sir. Would you state your name and address, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Norris Lee Ozell. 211 Water Circle, Tiffany Gardens. And I'm here on behalf of the community. What the problem is about the traffic. We're concerned about the traffic that's out here. You know, we got the 3 schools, East Wayne Middle School, East Wayne High School, and East Wayne Elementary School. And a lot of times you can't even get out there through that traffic the way it is. Now it's really bad out here, you know. And I think could be more houses they're gonna put out there, the units they're talking about putting out here, it's gonna be just a nightmare, you know. My wife had to go to work, she had to go out to the highway just to get out because it takes so long to get out during that time. You know, it's really bad. And also in front of me, there's a lot in front of me that's been there for over 30 years. And people come out and throw trash in the lot. And I had to go out there and pick it up and everything. And that's gonna create more problems. I don't mind going out there and cleaning it up, but this is gonna get worse. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that we don't need that much more traffic going through that, you know. And people be coming through that all times of the night, you know. I just think it's just gonna be a nightmare, you know. So I will even consider putting more units in out there than we need to.
Yes, sir.
Considering for the bad traffic, you know.
Anyone have any questions on the speaker?
And to chime in on what he said, he's exactly right, because at the fire department, we like to relieve ourselves 30 minutes earlier. But if you coming down Central Heights Road, you better be 45 minutes, because there's a couple of disabled kids that you would have to wait in that traffic.
Exactly.
On Central Heights. And then that blind curve off of Thoroughfare Road is always a dangerous curve anyway back there, before you know behind the rail track. So I've had to do that bypass like your wife had to do to get to work on time already. And like you said, with the school and everything else you have, that's a major point of concern as well.
And also you got 2 convenience stores there.
Yeah.
You know, then you got food line.
Yeah.
That's more traffic, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I'm quite sure people that's moving out that's where they're gonna be going. The convenience store,
Yes,
food line, and sometimes it takes 15 minutes to even get out there on the main road.
Yes, sir.
You know? So it's really gonna be bad.
I agree.
You know, and there's no more land, you know, that you can, no more highway
Yeah,
roads
that's right.
that you can get on. You know, ain't no more path.
Yes, sir.
It's just straight shot. So I thank y'all for listening to what I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, state your name and address, please.
Dexter Sims on property 103 Cheryl Terrace, Tiffany Gardens. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to voice concern with the amount of traffic that will be created by additional zoning. I understand that 80 units has already been approved that will come through Tiffany Gardens, and an additional 84 if this is approved. The average household today is usually a 2-car family. So if we have 80 and another 84, that would be an additional 328 vehicles possibly going through in the morning and the afternoon. We have the traffic at the middle school, the high school, the elementary school, as Mr. Ozell just mentioned earlier, food line. You'd be surprised the number of cars that will cut through Central Heights Road to go out to the bypass. All right? And it's just been a disaster. All right? It's already approved for the first 80 units will be coming, have access through Tiffany Gardens. Tiffany Gardens has always been a quiet neighborhood. Wanted to continue being a quiet neighborhood. There are no sidewalks for people that are walking, and more traffic. People and cars just don't get along when they're walking. For some reason, when a car hits a person, the person usually loses. But we wouldn't want to see that happen to anybody. We have kids that are walking to and from school in Tiffany Gardens, and with an additional 80 units already been approved, there'll be more traffic going to and from the school. And so I just think it shouldn't be approved. And I think it'd be bad for the property in Tiffany Gardens and everything when you get that much congestion.
Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. Would you give the clerk your name and address, please?
Yes, my name's Carl Richardson. My address is 213 Water Circle, right there in Tiffany Gardens. And just kind of bear with me, my nerves were a little shot. I'm used to being in front of a lot of folk. But first of all, I'm thankful I have the opportunity to be present in front of you guys to talk about the new, I guess the 80 units that are coming into our area. I haven't lived there very long, but it is my home. I've been there probably, I would say, 14 years, a resident in Goldsboro. And I'm thankful for the people that are there. It's a very quiet area. And like we said, like I heard the other gentleman say ahead of me about the traffic. Because first of all, I know we have issues with speed. Anytime you put anybody behind a vehicle, you know, speed is an issue. There was at one point we had talked about having speed bumps because of that. And I can only imagine adding more vehicles, more people, it would just make it even more challenging. And I got blessed to have a set of twin girls that reside with us. And like you said, we don't have sidewalks. There are the kids that walk, that ride bikes through the neighborhood. And I just think having that much more traffic on there is going to be an issue for me and my family, and I'm sure the friends in the area. Like I said, I wasn't aware of the 82 units that were already approved. I'm still learning the government side of things and everything, how it runs, and to know that that was approved. And unfortunately, I'm not saying, I'm still learning social media, I'm still learning all these things, but when I heard that today, it kind of made me sit back and think about, wow, that's just going to be a lot more people in the area. And it's not that I don't love people, but I know we do need our space as well. And it's always been a quiet area. I've been blessed to be in that situation and to continue being in that situation. And I pray that the people that come in respect that area and everything else, but I cannot fathom another 80 plus, so that would be 160. So by all means, please just take what I say into consideration of my family and my friends. When I say I don't think it would be a good idea. Of course, it's for you guys to make that decision, but the influx of traffic is going to be the influx of more people, and it just does not seem like a safe position from where I'm standing. And I thank you for allowing us to have the time to speak on that, to have our say. And the more that I am finding out about our community and about the government and stuff like that, it does make me want to speak a little bit more, because I know I'm important just like you guys are important, and your jobs are very important. So I'm thankful for y'all allowing me to speak today, and just please think about what I'm saying to you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, council. My name is Alex Economy. I own the property at 3220 Central Heights Road, which, can you put the map back up?
I'm trying to, yeah, I see.
Okay. Anyways, I think that my property sits right beside where the exit's gonna, one of the roads in and out of Tiffany Gardens is gonna be. My only concern is, I notice that every time developments come in, they build the land up. This area is already a little bit low over there. When Leroy Lucas owned the property and he cleared it all off, he hauled a bunch of dirt in there, and then he died, and it caused water to push back onto my property. Now, I was amazed to find out that the other property, the 80 units, had already been approved. I did not know that. I thought when I came to the council meeting 2 years ago that it wasn't approved, you know, but anyways, I just found out that it had been approved. So now we're gonna add another 84. My question is, are they gonna build that property up? And if they are, there has to be drainage in there, because, well, right now, that corner of my land is flooding, and if they build it up, I know it's gonna push it all the way to the front. And I got septic sewer out there, so I'm not on the city, but I'm on septic, and it will cause me a problem. So I asked that council look about that. And also, I asked that if they do approve this, that there is some type of privacy fence put up to block the property off and everything that's gonna be behind my property. So if y'all would just take that into consideration, I appreciate it.
Is your land to the north of this property, sir?
I'm on Central Heights Road, and it should, I can't see from this far away.
Okay, I see.
Okay, I should be that piece of property.
To the north, right?
Where's Central Heights?
Going straight out there, sir. That's thoroughfare,
That's thoroughfare right there.
the site is on thoroughfare, sir.
Okay, so the additional, there is a site sign out on Central Heights Road, which should be right before you get to the Y.
Okay.
I'm probably about 3 places back.
Before the child center.
Yes, I'm
Yeah, okay.
back this way going towards town, and everything is where the property is. So I'm a little confused with that map, because I thought the site sign came out on Central Heights Road up there.
It comes out on thoroughfare.
In thoroughfare, I thought we were gonna have 2 entrances.
I don't know. I think so.
Okay.
Phase 1 was approved and has an entrance off Central Heights Road.
That's, okay, and I'm right beside that.
Phase 2 will have entrance off thoroughfare.
Okay, so
So
there
phase
is
one
one
was
coming
already
off Central Heights
approved.
already.
And that is under development. It will soon be under development, yes, sir.
And is the property gonna be elevated?
Well, as far as phase 1,
Well, all of it, I mean, because
Well,
it's
they'll
gonna
have
push,
to-
it's gonna
they'll have
push
to-
water my way, I know that.
they'll have to meet, stormwater requirements and grading and all of that and tie into systems. So, as far as that having to be built up, that will all have to be approved by our city engineer.
Because I know like the car wash they're building on Berkeley, they jacked it up like 5 feet, you know. If they jack it that high all the way out there, it's gonna cause a major water problem, you know. So anyways, I appreciate your time, and I just wish you take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jennifer, is this the same land that was proposed solar farm gonna go on? It's low. You were told by solar farm that was the only thing that could go on it because it's too low for houses. So, the engineer's gonna have their problem set out.
But we had already approved 80 units, which I thought it was gonna be solar, you know, but it did. All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you. MC Morgan and Associates, 2408 Lake Oak Court, Greensboro, North Carolina.
Sir, could you move your microphone up a little bit closer to you?
Sir.
Yeah, good.
Got it. Thank you. Again, MC Morgan Associates, the developer for Phase 2, Phase 1 and Phase 2 at Central Heights. 2020, or 3227 is Central Heights, that's Phase 1, and then the second entrance. Can we pull up the site plan? Yeah. The one in black and white is Phase 1. The one that we'll talk about tonight is Phase 2. That has an entrance off of Thoroughfare. Jennifer went over how many units we have at this particular one, and again, to follow up on that, the reason why we're doing 2 entrances is to split the traffic that we're having there. It just so happens that because of the site, it just lended itself extremely well to be able to have 2 entrances and be able to split that. We have had lengthy conversations with NCDOT about both entrances, but we'll stick with Phase 2 tonight. The entrance off of Thoroughfare, trip traffic that we have is basically the same. We have ample enough capacity on Thoroughfare. We also have it on Central Heights as well, but we're going to split that. And I've got trip traffic data that, again, it's 590 trips a day. Again, pretty low from that perspective. Peak hours 9 entering, 31 exiting, 32 at the PM, and 19 at the exit. I've had some conversations with NCDOT about Tiffany Gardens, the second phase off of Thoroughfare. We're going to have to do a left turn lane in as it comes in. So
it's not my district; it's Bill's district. That's my district.
But we've had some lengthy conversations with Sam and Mr. Lawthorne.
I just know that's low land.
It is low land, yes, sir. I'm painfully aware of that.
Sure. I'll make a comment to you. The density of traffic on Thoroughfare Road is nowhere compared to the density of traffic on New Hope Road. Probably not even a fourth. There's plenty of capacity on Thoroughfare Road. But will they go off of Thoroughfare Road because they're going to have to hit Central Heights at an angle, and they're going to mostly be turning to the left, and that's a tough place to see.
Well, we're going to do again. This is Phase 2, but we're working with DOT on entrances and egresses as it relates to there.
And I think what he's referring to is more of a railroad concern, because the railroad has jurisdiction of that turn off where it's kind of a blind. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Aycock? Turning.
Where you turn on Thoroughfare Road off of Central, off of Central Heights.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that curve, it's a slow curve on Central Heights, but you have visibility both ways, and we've already had that data and actually loaded that up to NCDOT. I will take a few minutes to talk about again the demand. This is again Phase 2. Phase 1, nothing that I'm going to be speaking is about phase as far as the demand is concerned. This is an executive summary for Tiffany Gardens Phase 2, and I'll just hit a couple of highlights. Most rental developments across Goldsboro are at or near full capacity. I read this afternoon, and you are. You're 98%, everything. that's great. But there is a need, and the capacity is there. The demand itself, total rental of 25 rental developments, and it was in this, again, 8-mile radius from that particular location. Overall capacity was 98.6, was most of the developments with a waiting list. Total demand, again, 8 miles from that location, almost 2,000 units you need right now, today. I said it earlier, but again, as far as why we're here and what we're doing, I would like to say that following your comp plan, it's already written out there for what is needed and what's required. The comp plan, as it relates to your home funds and everything, are saying the same thing, and that's why we're trying to meet this particular need. The traffic issue will be subsided as we get into the second phase. I mean, all that does is just open it up, and because of the location, and that's why I pulled that up so tight. I mean, it's like a 65% which way to go, and as you well know, it's going to be wherever they can get out in the easiest point to be able to get out at different times. So we're going to have options for that in the phase 2, which would be great. Do you have any questions for me?
Good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Jennifer, we have no other speakers. Okay, this closes item B, rezoning Z221, and we'll take up next.
You will now need to open the public hearing for the conditional use permit that is
Okay.
associated with the rezoning.
Yep, okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding conditional use permit for this rezoning request?
We have to pay her mileage tonight.
You may close that public hearing.
Okay. And we'll close the Z221 rezoning, item B, and open up item C for public speaking on Z321 Barnes Jewelers Building. Anyone desire? Oh, you got to give the definition. The description, I'm sorry.
Item C is a rezoning request for Barnes Jewelers Building. The property is located on the south side of Eastgate Drive between Mall Road and Cashwell Drive. The applicant requests a change of zone for the subject property from shopping center to general business. In conjunction with the request, the applicant has submitted a conditional use permit application for the operation of an internet cafe for property addressed at 502 C2 Eastgate Drive. And the property is roughly 0.90 acres and is indicated in the hatched area on the map. To the north, you have shopping center. To the south, east, and west, you have shopping center. The property is occupied by a commercial strip center consisting of 3 separate buildings totaling approximately 12,000 square feet and containing 5 tenant spaces, currently consisting of a jewelry store, nail salon, hair salon, restaurant, and 1 tenant space that is currently for rent or lease. If the change of zone is approved, a conditional use permit approved by City Council will be required for the proposed operation of the Internet Cafe. The comprehensive land use plan for the city does recommend commercial development for the site. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for Council's meeting on April 5th. And just want to remind you, this is conventional zoning to general business with no conditions placed. The proposed use that is associated with this does require a separate conditional use permit. Any questions for staff?
Does this meet our requirements for the distance between internet cafes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I will go into more detail with that in the next agenda item. We'll see if, at this time, we'll have a public comment or
Yes.
public hearing for the rezoning request.
This is a opportunity for anyone to come speak for or against the rezoning.
Is there anyone in the room for this?
Yes,
Sir, would you give the clerk your name and address?
Yes, I'm Stephen Barnes, and my home address is 108 Aurora Lane in Goldsboro. And I represent the property owners for Barnes Store Shopping Center. And I have no comment or anything, I'm just here to represent.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Barnes? All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we'll close the public hearing on Z321 and open the public hearing on CU221 A&M Cafe.
Item D is CU 221 A&M Cafe. The property is located on the south side of Eastgate Drive between Mall Road and Cashwell Drive. This is associated with the rezoning request that was just presented. And again, it is part of a larger parcel of privately owned property from shopping center to general business zoning district, as just described. Internet cafes are allowed in the general business zoning district after the issuance of a conditional use permit approved by City Council. On May 8, 2017, City Council amended the city's electronic gaming ordinance. The following requirements were approved as they pertain to new gaming establishments proposed for operation in the City of Goldsboro's planning jurisdiction. Electronic gaming operations are permitted only in the general business zoning district after the issuance or attainment of a conditional use permit by City Council. No establishment shall be located within 500 feet of any residentially zoned or developed property, church, school, daycare, playground, or public park. And where the proposed establishment is separated from the residentially zoned or developed property by a 4-lane highway, the 500-foot separation shall only apply to the properties along the sides and rear of the establishment. No such establishment shall be located within 1 mile of another such establishment, and hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. City Council at that time made no changes to the existing parking requirement of 1.5 spaces per gaming machine. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the operation of an internet cafe consisting of 18 gaming machines. And the area tenant space within this area is roughly 950 square feet. Access to the commercial strip center is provided by 2 driveways, one 25-foot wide driveway along Mall Road and one 20-foot wide driveway along Eastgate Drive. Parking is required at 1.5 space per gaming machine, and based on 18 proposed computer games, 27 parking spaces are required for that operation. Currently, there are 49 parking spaces for the commercial shopping center. Staff has conducted a parking evaluation of the current businesses which operate within the existing shopping center. If the internet cafe is provided, a total of 65 parking spaces will be required for the site. A parking modification will be necessary, or the applicant will need to obtain a shared parking agreement to meet the parking requirements. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for Council's meeting on April the 5th. Any questions for staff?
So public
public hearing for the conditional use permit request.
Yes, anyone desiring to speak for or against CU221 A&M Cafe? Okay, we have to swear you in, sir. The clerk. And the clerk, give the clerk your name and the address, please.
My name is Sean Keenan, and my office address is 112 North William Street. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Colonel, Mr. Lawrence, thank you for providing A&M Cafe this time in your consideration this evening. A&M Cafe is seeking a rezoning of the Barnes Jewelry building located at 502 Eastgate Drive from Shopping Center District to General Business District, as well as a conditional use permit. A&M Cafe is a minority-owned business, and it's an internet cafe that seeks to operate openly and legally in good standing with the city of Goldsboro and its neighbors. Previously, A&M Cafe operated without an inspection and in an area not zoned for such businesses. A&M did not do this with the intention of flouting or the rules or ordinances of the city, but did so unknowingly. Mr. Eweiss, the operator of the business, purposefully selected the location because it meets the setback conditions for businesses such as this from residentially zoned area, churches, schools, and businesses, other similar businesses. So while there was an oversight on on A&M's part, it was not chosen without consideration of the city's ordinances and the surrounding community. As you all are aware, rezoning from general business or to general business merely expands the scope of the type of businesses that can operate in the building, but does not limit in any way the existing businesses or negatively impact the surrounding businesses. A&M Cafe wants to operate in the light and in the open. In the short period A&M Cafe was operating, upon information and belief, there was never an occasion where Goldsboro Police Department was summoned to the location. A&M Cafe has a good relationship with its neighbors and hopes to be a model for other internet cafes in Goldsboro and the surrounding areas. Unlike many other businesses of this type, A&M Cafe is in a well-lit, high-traffic area, not off the highway in a dark area like other such businesses, one of which was recently shut down for breaking the law. Mr. Eweiss even enforces the governor's mask mandate, which has profited a neighboring business that sells masks. There is one hurdle to the conditional use permit, and that is parking. The Barnes building has 49 parking spaces. Based on City Ordinance 6.1.6, shared parking, and the Planning Committee's analysis, there is a requirement for A&M to enter into a shared parking agreement with another property. We have contacted Berkeley Mall, who has informed us that they cannot enter into a shared parking agreement because they lease the parking lot rights to their tenants, and they do not allow their tenants to enter into parking lot agreements. I've sought a shared parking agreement with the vacant building behind the Barnes building, which is formerly Tractor Supply Company, as I understand it. It's located at 2901 Cashwell Drive. However, I'm told they are in negotiations to lease that building, so they're not currently willing to enter into a parking agreement with A&M Cafe at this time, or the Barnes building. However, I did learn during my research that the management of that building struggles to keep the employees and patrons of the shopping center between it and Berkeley at 501 Berkeley Avenue from parking in its lot. I looked into that building at 501 North Berkeley, and which I understand was previously a general business district and was changed to shopping center. I counted that it has 100 parking spaces. It further has 2 sit-down restaurants, Chipotle and Firehouse Subs, a hair salon, Sports Clips, 1 large space that appears to be vacant, a nail salon, a smoothie bar, a jewelry store, and a retail vitamin shop. Now, without a restaurant, the city informs me that the Barnes Jewelry building requires 68, or I think the lady before me said 65 parking spots for A&M to be able to operate. The building and its 49 spots were approved for multi-use purpose before the building was built. I'm informed there is not enough parking for my client to have a business when the only real issue on paper is from the hours of 5 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock p.m., the 1 hour of overlap time between daytime use and evening use before the jewelry store, the nail salon, and the hair salon close. If 49 spaces is not enough on paper for a jewelry store, a nail salon, a hair salon, and an internet cafe with 18 machines, 100 spots cannot be nearly enough for a hair salon, a nail salon, a jewelry store, another retail outlet, a smoothie bar, and 2 sit-down restaurants, one with a capacity of 57 tables or seats, and the other with 20, plus all of their employees. And the building isn't even full. The parking lot is. Now, it may be that that building has a shared parking agreement, but on information, they don't have it with 2901 Cashwell Drive. And they don't have it with the mall, because the mall told me they don't enter into parking agreements and they don't let their tenants enter into parking agreements. But I know that that building and that parking lot is tight and it's full, and the businesses in there are thriving. At least they appear to be thriving. And if that building has a shared parking agreement with the owners of the building that houses Aaron's Furniture and It's Fashion Metro, then the patrons have to walk across Cashwell Drive, which would unnecessarily place our residents in danger because there's no crosswalk. In the interim, while A&M Cafe seeks to enter into a shared parking agreement with another property owner nearby, we are willing to decrease the number of machines slightly to a smaller number to decrease our parking requirement, or close for cleaning between the hours of 5 and 6, which is when the greatest demand or crossover for parking in relation to the other businesses in the building occurs. And as I stated, A&M Cafe seeks to operate as a friend to the city and to the city council. It seeks to be a model for other internet cafes in Wayne County. And it seeks to be an example and a model for other minority-owned businesses. Mr. Eweiss and his family operate A&M Tobacco in Fremont, which also has gaming machines, a smaller number, mind you, but there has not been a single instance where the Fremont Police Department has been summoned to that location either. We see no reason why A&M Cafe cannot be a good neighbor in Goldsboro and to the surrounding community. Again, I thank you for your time and your consideration this evening. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Additionally, Mr. Stephen Barnes, the manager of the building, is here, along with other tenants, and Mr. Eweiss as well, to show their support for this measure. Thank you very much.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes, sir.
I just was curious what the previous location was that they had before. They were unaware of the city ordinances and codes as far as if there's any way you can
right,
disclose
A&M Cafe was not previously operating in another location. Mr. Eweiss started the business here and sought to make sure that he had the setback from all the other businesses and things that an internet cafe must remain a certain distance away from, which was in the ordinance that the lady before me read. So he was trying to expand out of Fremont and open up a location here in Goldsboro, and thought he had his I's dotted and T's crossed, and come to find out after he had opened the business that he did not. So that's why
he
he's
never did physically operate. You're saying that
it did previously in this location.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and then yes,
the
city notified him that he was in violation of the ordinance, and subsequently cut the power off of the building.
So my question was, where was that location?
I'm sorry. It's in the same location that he's in now.
Same location
yes,
now.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else to speak? Okay, we'll close public hearing on CU 221 A&M Cafe, and we'll open the public hearing for CU 321, item E on the agenda. New Hope Place Apartments.
Item E is CU 321 New Hope Place Apartments. The property is located on the north side of Kyler Best Road between Oxford Boulevard and Glenda's Drive. The applicant requests a conditional use permit for the construction of an 80-unit apartment complex located in the R9 residential zoning district. According to the city's Unified Development Ordinance, multifamily dwellings are a permitted use within the R9 zoning district. However, a conditional use permit approved by City Council is required for the construction of the apartment complex. The area in question is roughly 13.9 acres. In November of 2016, Goldsboro City Council approved site and landscape plans for the construction of 50 senior apartments directly west of the subject property, informally known as the Kyler Springs Senior Living Community. Currently, the property consists of woodlands, and the submitted preliminary site plan indicates 4 3-story apartment buildings containing a total of 80 units. In addition, a community building is also being proposed on site. The site will be required to meet the multifamily development design standards to include open space requirement of 20% of the entire development. Access to the site will be directly from Kyler Best Road, and since Kyler Best Road is a state-maintained road, NCDOT officials have been contacted and are requiring driveway permits as well as left and right turn lanes along Kyler Best Road. Parking for the site requires 2 spaces per unit, plus 0.5 per bedroom over 2. 18 of the 80 total units will be 3-bedroom units. 62 units will be 1 and 2 bedroom units. A total of 169 parking spaces are required, and 169 spaces have been shown. The submitted site plan shows 5-foot wide external sidewalks for the site. However, the developer has requested to pay a fee in lieu in the amount of $8,280 since the area is not recommended for sidewalks according to our city's recommended pedestrian plan. A commercial lighting plan has not been submitted at this time. However, one will be required since it is adjacent to residentially zoned and developed properties. Interconnectivity has not been shown for the site. The developer is requesting a modification of the city requirement due to the nature of adjacent developments and their existing site conditions. City water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. A portion of the property is located within the special flood hazard area known as the 100 and 500-year floodplains, as well as the floodway. City engineering will require approval of stormwater calculations and drainage plans prior to issuance of any building permits. Street trees have been provided along Kyler Best Road, and a Type A 10-foot wide landscape buffer is required along all property lines, and vehicular surface area landscape requirements must be met. Staff is working with the applicant to ensure all landscaping requirements are per or as required by the city's Unified Development Ordinance. Commercial dumpsters will be utilized for garbage collection and have been identified on the site plans. Building elevations have been submitted and indicate the proposed building will be constructed of brick veneer and cedar shank vinyl siding. Roofing materials will be 30-year architectural shingles. Staff will ensure all multifamily development design standards are met per the requirements of the city's Unified Development Ordinance. The subject property is located outside the city limits, and since city utilities are located within 1,000 feet of the site, the developer will be required to connect to city water and sewer, as well as annex into the city limits. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for the Council's meeting on April the 5th, 2021. I do want to make a reference with this property already being zoned properly, just a conditional use permit is required. For this area, just wanted to indicate that per the density, they would be allowed 133 units, but the applicant is only proposing and capping it at 80 as part of the conditional use permit. Just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for staff?
Okay, this is a public hearing for CU 321 New Hope Place Apartments. If anyone would like to speak for or against that, please step forward this time and be sworn in. Ma'am, give your name and address to the clerk, please.
Eileen Henderson, and I'm 301 Tanya Drive in Old Farm.
We got it before, but you'd have to do it each time.
Yes. I'd like to take you down memory lane just a little bit. Maybe you remember this headline in the newspaper. It was April the 3rd, 2018. The headline reads, "Council denies apartments." I spoke that night on behalf of the people. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association. And I'd like to take you down and just see what's happened in almost 3 years, because it'll be 3 years next month. We've had 6 or 7 new homes, I think 7 new homes in Glenda's Point have been built, 1 in Old Farm, and we've had 50 apartment buildings at Siler Springs Senior Living have been built since 2018. So what has that done? That's increased a lot of things. And that's what has gone on in those 3 years. But what hasn't changed? Siler Best is still a 2-lane road. It's a double line, which means no passing. There's no shoulder to which you walk, and there is a ditch. And the other day, I was doing some research, and I was 3 feet off of the pavement, and a car missed me by about 18 inches. It was heavy, about 4 o'clock. It was heavy traffic. I counted the cars, and I wish the people from Martin Associates were here, because I did a little recon as well. I did the traffic count from 6:30 to 7:30. There were 86 cars in a 6-minute period. So over an hour, there were over 900 cars that passed Siler Best and Glenda's Point where you go by. That's pretty heavy in my book. There's no turn lane for one of the apartment buildings, which is going to be right next door to the apartment building that is being suggested today. I wanted you to know that there have been no streetlights, no sidewalks added. Just the other day, as I wrote one of the council members here today, I was coming off of the overpass, coming down Siler Best, and I ran into a complete stop of traffic. A gentleman was trying to turn into the Siler Best apartments, and he couldn't go by because the traffic there was 15 cars ahead of me. Now, I thought about that as I sat there, and I thought, what if there was an emergency at that senior living apartment building that has just been opened? How would the ambulance get by? Where would the cars go? Traffic is coming. What if there was a fire? So I thought about all of those things. Nothing has changed. I can't see a reason why a decision would be granted to rezone this area when nothing has improved. I couldn't clarify when the speaker was here. Is it going to be 3 bedrooms? Is that senior living there? Does anybody have the answer to that? Is that a senior living?
That's a New Hope Road, ma'am.
No, this one here. They said they were going to have 3 bedrooms, so I'm taking that as family, as that a family unit. That's going to be a lot more cars and more traffic. We need to be thinking about our seniors. In Old Farm alone, we have a lot of retirees, and we have bicyclers, we have children walking and playing. We need to consider that. It's already a cut through from Glenda's Point, down Tanya, over to Harding, and it's going to get heavier if this is approved. Please give that consideration. Let me say that I hope the News Argus on April the 6th will say that it's denied again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone else desire to speak?
bad character back. We gotta check on you.
And I understand that this is factual, so I'll keep it very short. Understand 169 parking spaces would be going into this property, and that it is zoned currently for either single family or multifamily. I would just encourage you strongly to have it as single family use and not multifamily, because 169 parking spaces and that additional traffic to that road, a road with absolutely no shoulders, ditches on either side, extremely dangerous. This is not a good solution for this property. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And would you give the clerk your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Diane Sutton. I reside at 127 Oxford Drive in Oxford Square. I'm the president of the HOA.
Can you speak to the mic, please? Did you get that, Melissa?
I did.
Okay.
Okay. I'm the president of the HOA. Before I came in here, I apologize. I was under the impression that thought I had done my homework and neighbors had done our homework. I didn't realize this. I thought this was for rezoning, but I still, a lot of things may be stricken from the record, but I still want to speak our piece. We live in Oxford Square. It's a privately owned townhome.
Familiar with that?
We have a lot of, it's a quiet community. We have a lot of elderly, retired homeowners. We have a lot of older widow ladies that live, I want to say there are 6 or 8 houses where their their property line is not probably 6 or 8 feet from their line. And there's not a berm or anything there. They already have drainage issues. But, you know, we're just mainly worried about, we already have another housing development, Oxford Plantation. And for some reason, we were not made aware of that. It was built and it just went up. We didn't know a thing about it. So we've had a lot of strangers coming from the apartments on Calabash Road. There is on the other side of this property that's to the left of us. There's coming through our neighborhood. And the elderly ladies, you know, there is a small section in between it. You know, we're built close together. So we've got strangers coming through our neighborhood, even going down the roads to get to the other neighborhood at Oxford Plantation. And we've had problems with that, and I kind of keep my eyes out and try not to be rude, but that's happened a lot. And these elderly and young people too, you know, ladies get, you know, scared when you got strangers coming through. You look at your bedroom door and they're there. We're just worried about drainage problems, buffer, you know, their backyards, our property values. But we're just really worried about traffic. I mean, we were back there by ourselves to start with, and I know it's a free world to do what you can do, but when you go out of our driveway, you've got to wait for, they have the right of way at Oxford Plantation to usually go to the road. You can sit there and wait, and since they put the Kyler Best Springs senior living up there, you can sit there and wait like everybody else I've had for 10 minutes. You can't get out. When I go to get my grandchildren, I have to turn to the left to go that way, and you're talking about putting 2 more big apartments down there, and it's like one of the gentlemen said, I mean, I've seen cars backed up from the stoplight at Pinewood all the way down past Oxford Square, the Oxford Boulevard. So I just wanted to, let you know, we went around and we got petitions. We had about close to 40 people sign it. I know that doesn't make a lot of difference, but we're just really worried about our elderly and our private neighborhood, that we just don't want people running from one place to another one.
Well, I will tell you that tonight has been interesting in terms of talking about real estate and property development, because Mr. Aycock, Mr. Broadway, and myself, all of these properties that have been discussed tonight are in either one of our districts, and yours is in my district. So I think we're very familiar with the locations that has been expressed here, and we will. This item will go like the others before the Planning Commission at a later date, and then it'll come back for us for final decision. But we thank you, as everyone else has come in here tonight and presented your positions, and we'll wait and see what develops.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak?
Thank you.
Ma'am, come up. The clerk will swear you in just a moment. And would you give the clerk your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Danny Remington. My address is 114 Michelle Dawn Drive. I'm in Glenda's.
Thank you.
I know you're all hearing a theme tonight with the concerns of the New Hope residents and the Kyler Best residents with the traffic and infrastructure, and I just wanted to address one other angle of that concerns me, specifically that of the tenants currently living in the apartments along Kyler Best, many of whom I know don't have adequate or reliable transportation. These individuals are required to walk about 1.5 miles along Kyler Best. And everybody's kind of outlined it's a busy 2-lane road, no sidewalks, no streetlights, ditches on either side to get to the nearest supermarket. Currently there's no public transportation available for them, and if an individual is required to walk across this path, which I see regularly, it not only puts themselves in great danger, but it puts the drivers that are inevitably going to swerve into oncoming traffic into danger as well. Community members of Glenda's Point and Old Farm see this a lot along Kyler Best. Just a few months ago, I stopped and picked up a mom who was pushing a stroller with her toddler in it over Kyler Best, was going overpass to get to Walmart, and had made the comment to me that she needed to get stuff for her baby and she didn't have any other way to get there. I know another neighbor mentioned she saw an elderly man walking along Kyler Best with a couple bags of groceries in arms recently as well. So, I believe the same can kind of be said of New Hope as well. There's definitely parts where there's a really great walkway there, but it isn't consistent enough that it will put them to the destinations they need to go safely the whole time. And you know, like Eileen Henderson said, many of these concerns were brought up in 2018 when a similar property was proposed, but we have not seen any changes to the roads since that time. And I know you can see here tonight, many residents have a vested interest in these properties and a desire to see it developed. And I've wondered if businesses that could promote a more safe and easy access for the people already there, if that would be something that would be a better thing, or basically if they're going to continue with apartment developments, we really need to meet the demands that are inevitably already in place. I mean, it's confusing to me why we would rezone properties, which would increase density and not match the infrastructure needs there. And I was looking at the comp plan the other day, and there was a part here that says, this planning effort will provide a creative and dynamic plan to guide the future long-term growth and development of this rapidly developing urban area. And I feel like we can see clearly this rapid development, and we know that it's going to be important to keep this perspective of long-term growth going. And I really appreciate that the demand for housing is there. We're seeing this, you know, these full capacity apartments are a clear indicator of that. And I appreciate that the city and there's developers that are pushing to meet the demand that is needed. I just feel that as the growth continues, it needs to be done in conjunction with proper infrastructure as well. And we need to focus our considerations on the safety and of the current residents as well as future residents that are there. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Councilman,
Anyone?
for your help.
You're welcome.
Okay, do we have anyone else to speak on this issue? Sir, would you give your name and address to the clerk, please?
Yes, sir. Dustin Mills. The address is 631 Dickinson Avenue, Greenville, North Carolina. Members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As I know this is a quasi-judicial hearing, I'm going to try to limit my input to findings of fact that we can provide. I am representing the purchaser of the property, Server Development. Server Development is proposing an 80-unit multifamily development on the proposed site. And I think it's worth pointing out because in the earlier hearings, which are going through rezoning, this is not going through rezoning. We are asking for your consideration to allow development that is by right based on the existing zoning. So this is a conditional use request, which I know you're aware of. But I thought that was worth pointing out. We're only trying to develop what is allowed under the present zoning that's on the site right now. A couple of things that I think are worth pointing out is the site is 13.9 acres. And I think that's important to talk about for just a minute because under the present zoning classification, up to, based on the city of Goldsboro's zoning requirements, up to 133 units are allowed under the zoning classification that presently exists today. And so we come here before you tonight for your consideration in thinking about the fact that what we are proposing is significantly less than what is allowed under the rezoning, under the present zoning classification at 80 units versus 133 units. When you look at 80 units on a per unit basis, that's 5.75 units per acre. That's almost as low as most every single family neighborhood outside of the the urban infill aspect of the environments that we live in. That's an extremely low density compared to most multifamily, and we thought that was a point worth bringing to your attention. The site itself is surrounded primarily by multifamily, either through traditional multifamily or duplex homes. And our closest building, the corner of the building that's closest to any of the duplex homes is more than 200 feet away from the closest building on our site plan. So we wanted to provide that. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing and we have to have findings of fact, it is a fact that the site plan meets the municipal standards. Staff has confirmed that. It's worth pointing out that we are in compliance with the comprehensive plan as well. And in questioning, is this use in harmony with the surrounding uses, I want to just go back quickly to the fact that this is multifamily that will be surrounded by multifamily. There's new construction, there's some older multifamily homes, the duplexes that are catty-corner to this site. We think that this will be a tremendous asset to the community and it will serve working-class individuals. Traffic is always a concern as a developer, and we recognize that is an issue. It's sometimes a necessary evil when it comes to development. I will tell you that in most cases, based on our experience as a property owner, the residents that live in our communities are from our community. We're not bringing folks down roads that don't use them to go to the grocery store or to the school or to something along those lines. And so, you know, there was some anecdotal evidence offered earlier that there were 900 cars. You know, we didn't have the ability to provide a traffic study because we weren't asked to. And typically when you look at traffic analysis, it needs to be done, you know, by formal third-party study and offered into formal evidence. So I'll just make that point in that we recognize that traffic will increase. It will inevitably.
Excuse me, sir. Someone have a cell phone?
She's trying to get it cut off.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. So from where we stand, we recognize that traffic will increase it. There's more activity in that on that particular property. NCDOT will require this development to have a right turn lane, what's called a decel lane, and a center turn lane, which is your left turn lane, so that it allows for safe passage. And several of the residents here on this case and in the previous cases tonight that were multifamily did mention the fact that there was backup. I can tell you that when DOT looks at a new development, they will take that into consideration. And as Mr. Morgan said in the initial two hearings, they will require that the developer meets all of the criteria from DOT for them to determine that it allows for safe ingress egress. And so we are here representing that we will meet all of the NCDOT requirements, which we do firmly anticipate will be a decel lane and a left turn lane, which widens the area of the road and will hopefully address some of the shoulder concerns that some of the residents mentioned tonight. You know, there was some comments earlier again that weren't necessarily findings of fact, but it's a quiet neighborhood and strangers coming through the development. We can't control that, but what we can tell you is that our community is a privately held community owned by our organization, and we feel strongly that it's an investment. We're proud of the developments that we work on and that we invest in, and we make every effort to be an asset to the community. And so with that, I will bring my comments to a close, but I would just like to reiterate once more, not a rezoning. I believe we've provided findings of fact, and we hope that you will consider those facts in relation to some of the other anecdotal facts that have been provided here tonight, and I'm available for questions if there are any. Thank you.
Any one question? Okay, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a, okay. I'm embarrassed to ask this, but have you spoken before tonight?
I have.
Okay, so she has your name and address.
Not, I haven't spoken tonight.
Oh, okay,
I
well,
have
give-
been here before, but
Yeah,
not
well,
tonight.
give her your name and address, please.
Tracy Benton, and I live at 1598 Kyler West Road.
Thank you.
I am definitely opposed to any multifamily homes being built anymore. We already have multifamily homes across the street from us. I don't know anybody in this room that wants 80 families moving across the street from you. I just don't. I understand they're in a business and that's what they do. I also heard him say he lives in Greenville. So he has no idea about our neighborhood. He has no idea about our traffic that backs up from New Hope Road all the way back. It doesn't matter if they put a turning lane in there where they're talking about. That's not gonna help the backup that's already there. And he was talking about facts. Facts are, I'm in my yard picking up trash every single day from the multifamily homes that's already across the street from us. I guess they throw their trash out before they go home. Every day. There's not one passes that we are not out there cleaning up, trying to keep our place looking respectable. So I guess I just want to say that I am opposed.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak? Anyone?
I'm Grace Sullivan. I live at 1550 Kyler West Road, so I'll be right across from this development, right across the street. I'm just another voice, just saying that the traffic backs all the way up, and a turn lane wouldn't matter. It's back all the way up. And we already have a retirement center, elderly residential place. Around the corner, there's already a nursing home. We have multiple apartment dwellings. So we're saturated. You know, I hear the comment that our community or Wayne County needs more apartments, more rental properties, more retirement places, and maybe we do. And I'm happy that we have what we have, but we've got enough on our street. We're saturated. We don't need any more on that street. So that's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else desiring to speak? Jennifer, that's it? Okay, we'll close public hearing on C3-21 New Hope Place Apartments. We addressed already item F in the earlier session, and we'll go now to the consent agendas. Anyone want to make a motion to? Oh, sorry.
We've not done F.
I'm sorry?
You not addressed item F.
I thought we moved that over. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, I'm correct. Okay, we will now address item F.
The last public hearing. Good evening. Item F is a public hearing and approval of a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds to finance the acquisition, rehabilitation, and equipping of the Grand at Day Point Apartments. On November 16, 2020, the City Council adopted a resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance by the city of multifamily housing revenue bonds to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation by GDP Housing Partners of the Grand at Day Point Apartments. The company has received approval and an allocation of bond volume cap for the project from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency and anticipates closing on the project in April. In order to complete the process for the issuance of the bonds, the city must hold a public hearing as required under Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code and adopt a resolution approving the issuance and sale of the bonds and execution of the documents for the bonds. The company has requested that the city assist in the financing and the acquisition, rehabilitation, equipping of 160 multifamily residential rental development known as the Grand at Day Point Apartments, located at 2300 Day Circle here in the city of Goldsboro. The city proposes to provide the financing for the development by the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds to be designated multifamily housing revenue bonds and the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $14 million. The Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended requires that any bonds issued by the city for the development may only be used after the approval of the plan of financing by the city after a public hearing. The notice of public hearing was published in the Goldsboro News Argus as required by law. The form of the resolution to be adopted by the council is attached in your agenda packet. The city will have no legal responsibility or liability whatsoever for the payment of principal or interest on the proposed bonds, and the bonds will not affect the city's debt ratios or legal debt limits. The company will pay the city an issuance fee for the process for issuing the bonds and also pay all costs incurred by the city in connection with the bonds. And that's a lot to go over and to quickly summarize and take us back to when we started in November. This originally was discussed in November 16th of 2020, and council approved a resolution to move forward. The city will serve as essentially a conduit for the financing. There's no risk to the city. The $14 million in money is kept in a bank account as collateral to secure the debt. They're going to take a portion of the money, in addition to acquiring the property, remodel all the units out there, and spend about $45,000 a unit and do almost a total remodel to the buildings, inside and outside, HVAC, cabinets, appliances, etc. The city, into being involved as a conduit and being involved in this process, will receive a $140,000 fee, which is the 1% of the bond amount. They'll also pay all of our expenses, attorney's fees, staff time involved in it. We've also discussed with the developer, they're going to pay $200,000 to make park improvements at South End Park. That's that park at the entrance of, in front of the Grand at Day Point that we lease. We've talked about in the past that there needs to be basketball court improvements and playground improvements there. The $200,000 they'll give us will be earmarked for that facility to make those improvements. We do have representatives from the developer and bond council present to answer any questions. At the conclusion of the public hearing, council is requested to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds to finance the acquisition, rehabilitation, equipping the Grand at Day Point Apartments.
Thank you. You heard the resolution as presented by Randy. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing issuance and sale?
You have to have a public hearing first.
I'm sorry.
After the
I'm really ready to go home.
It is after that. The public hearing first.
I'm sorry, okay. Do we have anyone that wants to speak for or against the resolution?
Hi, good evening, council members. My name is Kristen Kirby. I'm an attorney with McGuire Woods in Raleigh. We are the city's bond counsel, and so we're representing the city in connection with this financing. As Randy mentioned, he did a good job giving an overview, so not a lot to add, but happy to answer any questions about the bonds or the project. As was mentioned in this deal, the city is simply acting as a conduit issuer. City has no responsibility for the repayment of the bonds. They are repaid solely by the payments to be made by the developer of the project. These bonds won't affect your legal debt limit or debt ratios or go in your audit, since there's no payment responsibility. In addition, the developer covers any costs that the city incurs, and in the documents we include language by which.
Just a moment. Officer,
yes.
are you trying to get someone's attention?
No, sir.
Okay, I saw you waving.
Sorry,
Okay.
counter's bouncing.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And in the documents, we include language under which the developer agrees to indemnify the city for anything that should arise with relation to the project or the bonds. As was also mentioned, we came before the city council back in November for the preliminary approval. This is the final approval that's needed to conclude the city's process in the issuance of the bonds following the public hearing, of course. But again, happy to answer any questions that the council members have either now or at the conclusion of the hearing.
Okay, is there any questions? Main point in this is that we have no obligations to
Correct.
this.
Correct. Yes, simply acting as a conduit issuer so that the developer is able to use tax-exempt bonds to finance the project. You have to have a governmental entity involved in the process in order to do tax-exempt bonds. And so that allows them both to borrow at a lower rate of interest since they are tax-exempt, and also to qualify for 4% low-income housing tax credits for the project.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sir, you want to speak?
Good evening. I just wanted to say hello.
It's been a long wait for you.
And I can see the enthusiasm as everyone laughed.
And would you give the clerk your name?
Sure. I'm Brian Hartnett. My address is 1115 East Moorhead Street, Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the president and executive director of the Affordable Housing Institute. We're a nonprofit affordable housing development company. We've been in existence since 1992, and we look forward to a successful project here on this, as well as I believe we have another one in your community as well, whose name is escaping me at the moment because I get a little nervous in front of big crowds.
Jefferson Quarter.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have about the development or plans or the future for it, or anything to that effect. And if you don't have any tonight, I'm here happy to answer them in the future.
You're not driving back tonight, are you?
I'm sorry?
You're not driving back tonight, are you?
Well, depends.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I think my biggest concern at the learning of this was with the renovations. I mean, $45,000 going into each unit is a lot, right?
Yes, it's pretty heavy.
Will that impact the rent of the current residents?
No, we have rent restrictions in place, and they will remain in place for a minimum of 15 years, but probably much longer when all the deal is put to bed, I guess, here.
And the question that I asked back when we talked about this before was the relocation of families whose apartments are being renovated, and that they would have adequate space and not pile on top of one another.
Understood. Understood. There will be a they call it a work in place. Residents will be requested to come out for about 8 hours a day. We will provide location on site for them to reside if they stay home during the day other than going to work. With COVID, we have lots of practices to make sure that everyone is safe with those types of restrictions there.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a quick question. So I see your firm, like she said earlier, is investing up to $45,000 per unit for rental.
Yes.
Does your firm invest in single houses as far as renovating for home ownership?
We are a multifamily specific.
That's strictly what
Yes.
you guys are. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak? Okay, we'll close that issue. We did actually move item 7, but it was a Roman numeral 7.
If you close the public hearing, don't y'all act on it? We need to have some action taken on that, on the resolution. So you need to have a motion and a second to approve the resolution and approve the execution of the documents and everything.
I was about to do that earlier before, and I was ahead of myself. Now I'm behind. So, reference Resolution 2021, resolution authorizing issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds to finance the acquisition, rehabilitation, and equipping of the Grand at Day Point apartments. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand. All right, all approved. Okay. At this time, we'll move to the consent agenda. Does anyone make a motion? We did remove item M.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items G through O are presented for council approval with the exception of item M.
Motion to approve. Roll call?
Roll call, don't
Mayor Pro Tem Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes.
Councilmember Pollack,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
No.
Councilmember Aycock.
Yes.
Okay. City Manager's report.
we good with the items requiring individual action?
We did that one. We just
We're
moved
good?
that one ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, that's one Catherine had.
you got the vote? So for my update, the American Rescue Plan was approved by U.S. Congress and the President. Includes $130 billion for local governments. The city of Goldsboro will receive $8,750,000 from the U.S. Treasury. Half is expected within the next 6 weeks. The other half, a year after that. The American Rescue Plan authorizes use of funds until December 31st, 2024, for four main reasons. The first being COVID public health or negative economic impacts. The second, premium pay for essential employees. The third, provision of government services affected by the reduction in revenue. And the fourth, wastewater, water, or broadband infrastructure. Staff will develop recommendations for council consideration and direction in the near future. There'll be a litter sweep coordinated by the planning director along with the public information officer, coordinating with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, volunteers. It'll take place April 17th, called the Spring Litter Sweep. And I'd also like to mention remote meetings. Several of your boards and committees that have been meeting remotely will now start to meet in person as appropriate for those boards and commissions now that the latest North Carolina Governor Executive Order 195 has increased indoor mass gatherings from 10 to 25. That's all I have to say.
Okay, we have some resolutions to announce. We'll start with Councilmember Pollack.
Resolution number 2021-15, resolution expressing appreciation for services rendered by Cleveland Davis Jr. as an employee of the city of Goldsboro for more than 20 years. Whereas Cleveland Davis Jr. retires on April 1st, 2021 as an equipment operator with the Public Works Department of the city of Goldsboro with more than 20 years of service. And whereas Cleveland began his career on September 6, 2000 as a laborer 2 at the golf course with the Parks and Recreation Department. And whereas on August 14th, 2002, Cleveland was transferred to the Sanitation Division as laborer 2 with the Public Works Department. And whereas on May 21st, 2003, Cleveland was transferred to water meter reader with the Finance Department. And whereas on March 28, 2007, Cleveland was promoted to water meter reader service technician with the Finance Department. And whereas on September 24th, 2014, Cleveland was promoted to equipment operator with the Public Works Department, where he has served until his retirement. And whereas Cleveland has proven himself to be a dedicated and efficient public servant who has gained the admiration and respect of his fellow workers and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro. And whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro are desirous on behalf of themselves, city employees, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro of expressing to Cleveland Davis their deep appreciation and gratitude for the service rendered by him to the city over the years. Now, therefore, be resolved by the mayor and the city council, city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, that we express to Cleveland our very best wishes for success, happiness, prosperity, and good health in his future endeavors. This resolution should be incorporated into the official minutes of the city of Goldsboro and should be in full force and effect from and after this 15th day of March 2021, respectively signed by Mayor Chuck Allen. I make a motion that we accept the resolution expressing appreciation for services rendered by Mr. Cleveland Davis Jr.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Okay, the next one, Councilman Aycock.
Resolution number 2021-16, resolution expressing appreciation for services rendered by Timothy Irving as an employee of the city of Goldsboro for more than 15 years. Whereas Timothy Irving retires on April 1st, 2021 as the city cemetery superintendent with the Public Works Department of the city of Goldsboro with more than 15 years of service. And whereas Timothy began his career on March 8, 2006 as an motor equipment operator 2 in the cemetery division with the Public Works Department. And whereas on December 19th, Timothy was promoted to cemetery assistant equipment operator 2 in the cemetery division with the Public Works Department. And whereas on December 2nd, 2009, Timothy was promoted to cemetery superintendent in the cemetery division with the Public Works Department, where he has served until his retirement. And whereas Timothy has proven himself to be a dedicated and efficient public service who has gained the admiration and respect of his fellow workers and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro. And whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro are desirous on behalf of themselves, city employees, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro of expressing to Timothy Irving their deep appreciation and gratitude for the service rendered by him to the city over the years. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, that we express to Timothy our very best wishes for success, happiness, prosperity, and good health in his future endeavors. This resolution shall be incorporated into the official minutes of the city of Goldsboro and shall be in full force and effect from and after this 15th day of March 2021. Chuck Allen, Mayor. I make a motion that we accept this resolution expressing appreciation for services rendered by Timothy Irving.
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Okay, Mr. Broadway?
I have a proclamation for the month of the military child, and I always like to read this because I drug my children around for about 24, 25 years, and the child is very important to the military, and we drag them around. Whereas thousands of brave Americans have demonstrated their courage and commitment to freedom by serving in our country's armed forces in active duty posts around the world, and whereas nearly 2 million children have at least one parent currently serving active military duty, and whereas Goldsboro, North Carolina is the home of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and the Wayne County public school system has over 2,000 military-connected students, or 10% of its students' population, who are the children of active duty, reserve, retired, or veterans. And whereas the United States Department of Defense celebrates the month of April as the month of the military child, further highlighting the important role military children play in the armed forces community. And whereas the children of our service members are major contributors to the strength of their parents and make significant contributions to families, schools, our community, the state, and the nation, despite repeated and prolonged absences of one or both parents. And whereas parents serve in the military, their kids serve too. And it's fitting for our city to pay tribute to military children for their commitment, their struggles, and their unconditional support of our troops. Therefore, Chuck Allen, Mayor City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, does hereby proclaim April 2021 as the month of the military child, and April 16th as Purple Up Day for Wayne County Public Schools. We encourage all school personnel and the City of Goldsboro residents to recognize the contributions of our military families and to celebrate the spirit of military children across our city and nation by wearing purple on April 16th as an outward symbol of appreciation for our youngest heroes. Set my hand, seal of Goldsboro, North Carolina, 15th day of March, 2021.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Matthews?
Positive Parenting Awareness Month Proclamation. Whereas raising children and youth to become healthy, confident, capable individuals is the most important jobs parents and caregivers have. And positive parenting is a protective factor that strengthens family relationships, increases parents' confidence, and promotes children's healthy development. And whereas the quality of parenting and caregiving is one of the most powerful predictors of children's future social, emotional, and physical health. And in the city of Goldsboro, families come in many forms, and children are raised by parents, grandparents, foster parents, family members, and other caregivers. And whereas positive parenting prevents and heals the effects of adverse childhood experiences, such as child abuse, neglect, and other traumatic events that can create dangerous levels of stress, impair lifelong health and well-being, and increase the risk for costly health and behavioral health problems throughout life. And whereas all parents have inner strengths or resources that can serve as a foundation for building their resilience and for passing these strengths on to their children, yet many parents and caregivers begin the lifetime job of raising children feeling unprepared, and fear and social pressures prevent many from seeking parenting support and guidance. And whereas in the city of Goldsboro, families can receive support from various free support programs such as Triple P, which is Positive Parenting Program, an effective public health parenting intervention benefiting parents with children of all ages and diverse backgrounds. The Incredible Years, a parenting program for ages 3 to 5 dedicated to supporting and strengthening families through play, praise, rewards, limit setting, communication, handling misbehaviors, and learning preventative approaches. Parents as Teachers, a program based on the beliefs that parents are their children's first and most influential teachers, and that the early years lay the foundation for children's success in school and in life. PAT provides the information, support, and encouragement parents need to help their children develop optimally during the crucial years of life. The Wayne County Public Library serves as a free resource for families by providing regular programming for children and their families, as well as parenting books and resources. Whereas all community members, businesses, early care and education providers, school, faith-based organizations, nonprofit service providers, and government agencies play a vital role in supporting families to raise happy, healthy children. And whereas during the month of April, the city of Goldsboro, along with public, private, and nonprofit partners throughout the county, will be increasing awareness of the importance of positive parenting and the availability of resources in our community. Now, therefore, I, Chuck Allen, Mayor of the City of Goldsboro, do hereby proclaim April 2021 to be the first annual Positive Parenting Awareness Month in the City of Goldsboro, and commend this observance to the people of this city. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Goldsboro, North Carolina, this 15th day of March 2021.
Thank you. Okay, for closing remarks here tonight, we'll start with our newest member, Ms. Jones over there.
Yes, well, going along with the proclamation, I urge our citizens to raise child awareness in the area of abuse, child abuse. I ask you to speak in your communities, your schools, and where you worship, informing them on how important it is that a child feels supported, safe, and lives in a nurturing environment. And April is Child Abuse Awareness. So let's work together to make our community aware of child abuse.
Mr. Broadway.
I just got one comment. I'd like to thank everybody. One, I'm glad to be back in this building. I want to thank all of our technical people and construction people who did this, and the staff, and also thank all the people who showed up tonight to tell us what they thought. And I appreciate that. That's all I have, sir.
I just want to encourage everyone to continue to be safe during the pandemic. Even though many have received the shots, we still need to be cautious and not run back into things full throttle. As I told my students today, it's like benefiting from the results of exercise and healthy eating to accomplish weight loss goals and suddenly reverting back to an unhealthy lifestyle overnight once you've reached your projected goals. I also want to pray for all the families that have been affected, and pray they have God's covering, and pray that we can resume back to normal in a safe manner, and also want to recognize women and Happy Women's Month. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Matthews.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I mentioned a couple weeks back that I was planning an event for District 4, and I'm excited because that time is steadily approaching. So I want to invite the council, along with the entire community to join me on March the 27th for a drive-by parade, which I have called the Parade of Love for the Popular Street Apartments. So to give you guys some background on what the Popular Street Apartments are, they are for senior population, 62 and older. And they are tucked away so beautifully in District 4 that sometimes I don't even know if people know that they're back there. So I want them to know that they are thought about, that they're cared for, and that they are loved. So you can safely participate in this parade by staying in your vehicles. And you can honk, wave, cheer, laugh. Each resident will get a grab bag that has a mask in it and information that has been provided for United Way, so I thank them for that. They will get a special note from their councilwoman, and with the community's participation, they will also get a whole lot of love. So I will be posting the official flyer tomorrow on my Councilwoman page, so you can follow that on Facebook at Councilwoman Brandy Matthews. And I do hope that you will join me March 27th at 2 p.m. Thank you. Good night.
Mr. Aycock.
This is an organization I've been associated with for a little over 3 years, and it deals with a group of black slaves who got away from their masters and joined the U.S. Army during the Civil War. Fighting for freedom, black soldiers of the Civil War, the 156th anniversary. The 135th United Colored Troop, their story, told by Deborah Richardson Jones, Lieutenant Colonel retired U.S. Air Force. Hear her ancestry connection. A troop that started as part of the Pioneer Corps with Major General William T. Sherman, and then organized into their own regiment unit right here in Goldsboro on March 27, 1865. They fought in the Salkehatchie River scrimmage in South Carolina. They were the only black regiment that marched in the Grand Review Parade. They served guard duty in Kentucky, and she'll have pension records so people may be able to find their ancestors. I think we have located something like 35 ancestors already. It'll be hosted at the Wayne County Museum Saturday, March 22nd, 2021 at 1 p.m. That's on 116 North William Street, Goldsboro, North Carolina. Thank you.
I have a couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, Councilman Broadway touched on this before, but this is the first time we've been back in this council chambers in many, many months. And it was made possible by the staff here at our city. IT, Public Works in particular, and they did it in a pretty quick time. This decision to do this was made about a week and a half ago, or less actually, and it came together very well. I'm glad that we were able to allow visitors to come in tonight, and we were able to seat others that were not able to be in here because of COVID restrictions in other parts of the building. So we look forward to coming back again and again and eventually opening up as we were before. Final thing I want to mention is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier on, our mayor has taken a leave of absence. And I think we all here want to wish him well, wish him the best, and hopefully he can be back with us very soon. He has served this city for 21 plus years now. And that's in addition to creating and running a business and educating his family. There's no question in people's mind that know him that he's a committed servant to this city. And I know it breaks his heart that he wasn't here tonight. And we share our best wishes for him, and hopefully he'll be back here next meeting or as soon thereafter as possible. That's all I have. If we have no further comments, meeting adjourned.